Dr. Rick Marks and another Relate Well Moment. Thank you for coming and taking a few minutes of your time to kind of allow me a chance to impart and input into you some thoughts, some ideas that I hope will encourage you, inspire you, but most importantly, that will inspire you enough to transform those parts of you that you want to transform so you can mature in love and relate well in all aspects of your life. Now, today I want to talk about this idea of resilience. Resilience. Some people are resilient, many people are not. You need to have a sense of resiliency to survive in a world. Even there's a broken marriage, you've got to be resilient. Going to combat, you come home, you've got to be resilient. You've got to be resilient. If you have resiliency inside of you, then you can weather the storms, all right? And just telling someone, suck it up and trust Jesus, isn't a form of resilience. It's actually just telling a person you don't care. So I want to talk about some things about resilience real quickly here, and for us to ponder in this Relate Well moment. So what are some factors of resilience? I've got my little notepad right here so that I stay on track and not get off track, which is what I'm really good at doing. All right, so what are some factors for resiliency? Number one factor is people who are resilient use humor. They use humor. You know, I used to work in psychiatric hospitals, and you saw a lot of horrendous things, like psychoses, people in psychotic episodes. We would get patients in from Vietnam with PTSD, who at night you would hear them yelling and screaming. Some actually jumped out of their bed and hit the wall thinking they were attacking a hooch. The really traumatic things. You see the effects of alcohol and drug abuse on people's lives. They come in day after day, week after week, and one of the ways you kind of deal with that is you kind of make fun of certain things they say or do. That's a form of resiliency. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but people find ways to cope, and humor is one of those ways to cope. It allows you to take the trauma and step back from it and find something that might be comical about it and focus on that rather than the larger picture. Why? Because if all you're doing is looking at the negative, time after time, day after day, you could collapse pretty well. If not, you end up with an addiction, clinical depression, anxiety disorders, a whole bunch of other things. People who are resilient learn to laugh. Laughter does good like a medicine is an old Jewish proverb. Yeah, that doesn't mean we're ignoring the realities of what took place, but in the midst of it, I can step back and find humor. And it may not be humor about what happened. It may be you're going to look around the world and see some funny things over here, some funny things over there. Maybe go sit and just quit focusing on that and put on a good old comedy sketch, you know? Some stand-up comedy or Jim Gaffigan, what I like. Find a way to laugh. Find a way to laugh. Resiliency needs humor. Second thing, you've got to have, listen, number two, you have to have a critical sense of perspective. You have to be able to look at your perspective and think about your perspective critically. You have to step back from what you're seeing or what you're believing. Ask yourself, is this right? Is this how it really was? Could there be another way that this happened? Could that perspective of this be right? It might be wrong. Is there any truth to what that other person said and did and why they did that? You have to step back and literally become objective, move out of subjectivity, move to objectivity with the skill you learn, and ask questions about it, so that when you get a critical thinking around that perspective, you can discern what is true and what is not, what is accurate and what is just perspective, what is real in life and time, and what is real just in my perspective. You see, you need to have a critical sense of perspective. Why? Because it allows you to get rooted in what is true versus what you just think is true. Sadly, people who aren't able to develop that critical sense of perspective, they just see the world through their prism. And sometimes their prism, though it is their prism, They believe their prism is 100% accurate, and it isn't. It's just a perspective of reality. It's not the whole reality. So developing a critical sense of perspective allows you to step back and discern the whole reality, without thinking that your perspective is reality. Number 3, you've got to have healthy attachments. You've got to have healthy attachments. People who spent most of their life alone, disconnected, no healthy bonds, tend to suffer more than those who had healthy, connected attachments, whereby when there's a trauma or a hurt, they don't pull themselves out of a relationship, they pull themselves into a relationship. They connect to people, become open and vulnerable. They say things like, I'm just really hurting right now. When that takes place, I feel like that I don't matter. That level of vulnerability and authenticity. And in that, because you have those healthy people around you who love you, they can comfort you and speak truth into that and let you know it's okay that you feel the way that you do, and that you do matter. You see, we need to have all of that sense. Oh. Okay, I was thinking that my phone rang, and so I messed it up. So we got to start back here. All right, so that's healthy attachments. You need to be able to turn to other people. And whenever we have people that are close, that love us, it's like you can take on the world when you know you're not alone. So if you want to be resilient, get some humor, learn to laugh, find brevity in life, have a critical sense of perspective, be able to be objective, all right? Step back, look at it through a different prism, other people's perspective, question what you're thinking, and lastly, healthy attachments, all right? And so lastly, what are 3 traits of resilient people? Number 1, resilient people accept reality. They accept reality. It is what's happened. Pessimism is healthy. It's okay to be pessimistic. Got it? You don't always have to be optimistic. Optimism is denying reality. Oh, well, I lost a foot, but hey, I got 1 foot. And you still lost a foot. It's okay to be pessimistic. How can I work? I don't know. Am I going to struggle? Yes. Accept reality. You just don't get yourself stuck in those things. People who always look to the positive, really, that's called denial for a lot of them. Number 2, strong, healthy values in life. People who are resilient have strong, healthy values, strong morals. They have strong values and morals, and those strong values and morals help them work through and become resilient. This is why faith is so important, because when you have a faith in God, you begin to realize, though this is happening, that there is a God overseeing this, and that God is still in control, and that gives you peace. And the third thing is flexibility. If you want to be resilient, you've got to be flexible. Too much structure is not good here. Learn to adapt, learn to be flexible. You may have to change. That's okay. So then, 3 factors for resilience: humor, critical sense of perspective, healthy attachments. 3 traits of resilient people: accept reality, pessimism is healthy. Number 2, strong, healthy values in life. Lets you realize that life is meaningful. And number 3, be flexible. Have the ability to improvise. Thanks for listening. This is Dr. Rick Marks and another RelateWell Moment.